We're about 2-3 miles east of Sprague, Washington. This is an Atlas E missile base. There's 9 of these throughout the Spokane area. Of the 9 that are here, one guy is storing his farm equipment in the silo. Another one is using it for data security storage. I don't know what that means, but he's using it. So those 2 are dry. The other owners, I tried talking to them, although they're very nice. And I say, hey, you know, we got Site 4 over in Sprague, and you know, nice to meet you, and yada, yada, yada. What are you doing with your base? You know, just out of curiosity. Although they're very nice, they don't talk about their missile base. They just say, listen, pal, you got your base, you know what they're like, you have yours, I have mine.
Hi, I'm Kirsten. Nice to meet you. Did you come out from under the ground?
No, I stay on top, only if my wife's here.
She likes it down there. Yeah.
She loves it down there, even by herself. I don't like it down there by myself.
You don't. Where are we?
Well, it looks like we're in the middle of nowhere. So there's 9 of these throughout the Spokane area, spread out all over the place. So they called this a missile squadron, originally assigned to Fairchild Air Force Base.
Okay.
This is considered Site 4 of 9. This was built in 1959, went active in 1960, had an Atlas ICBM missile in it. I think it was a 3 or 4 megaton missile.
So people would come into work down here?
Yeah.
This would be the route to work?
Yep. Either park their Jeep down here,
Yeah.
or park outside the gate and walk here.
Yeah.
But this is how they had to come to work. So this is I call this the ramp. The missile will be backed in. So once all this is closed up and the plug is in, this was the only in and out of the complex. And I think there was, you know, some type of communication apparatus here to talk to the people inside. So this is the transition between the power room, the crew quarters and missile launch, and then the actual silo that's through those doors. This is where the crew came in. So when the plug is in, and that 47, and the missile's tucked in bed, and they close that 47-ton door, this is the only way to get into the base. The crew would show up out there, they call in, hey, it's shift B, they give all their secret codes, passwords, whatever they do. They would let them in. There was another door here that's not here now. They'd ring in again, give another set of codes, then they'd open the door and they'd switch crews. That's a 2-ton door. I'll let you go open that. Go ahead and open it.
You want me to try to open it?
Yeah. Just push the handle down and push. You'll be surprised how that door opens.
Okay. Super easy.
Yeah, exactly. That was my point.
How heavy is this?
2 tons.
2 tons. Oh my God. It's easier than most doors, actually.
It's so well balanced that the military so well balanced these doors that even that 47-ton door I'm going to show you, they can manually open that. Because if you ever lost power, they can manually do it. This was decommissioned in '64.
Under the nylon security cover, being transported from factory to test area, is Atlas, one of our intercontinental ballistic missiles.
These were the original ICBMs, and because they didn't have solid rocket fuel, they had to use liquid, so the missile actually laid horizontal in the silo, and they called them coffin silos because it looks like a coffin. So the missile would lay dormant, empty, unfueled in the silo. They would open a 400-ton door. They would raise the missile, fuel it with liquid oxygen and kerosene, and fire it. I read an article that this missile was actually raised and fueled and targeted during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm a picture guy because I'm retired law enforcement, so I picture things. So imagine driving down Sprague Highway and seeing a 110-foot silver missile sticking out of this ground. I mean, the sight of that would have been like, did that just land here from outer space, or is that one of ours? So my father-in-law, brilliant guy, he was an engineer by training. He bought this base in 1991, and it was in horrendous condition. So that's existing for the military. They had a Quonset hut on it, and that's where they would store all of the building materials to build the base. And then when the base was finished, they took down the Quonset hut and stored it in there. That's military building also. That building wasn't there, which is actually on top of the base underneath. He deconstructed that in Spokane, transported it here, erected it on top of the missile base, and then built the living quarters, a garage, and a workshop. He always wanted to live underground, but in the later years, he built this and he lived up top. And that's where I stay, because downstairs is it's dark and it's too quiet for me.
But when your wife comes,
We're downstairs.
she likes it down there.
Yes, she loves it down there.
What do we see behind you there?
Okay, there's 2 of these air shafts, and remember, all this is military stuff. So whenever you touch something, it's solid as a rock. So when you rap on this, you could just tell by the density of the steel how solid this is. This cover, what does this look like to you?
One of those wash bay, like
It's exactly what it is. It's a trough.
trough. Yes.
It's a trough because the one that was there had deteriorated. So my father-in-law, being the kind of guy that he is, said, what a perfect fit. So he put that as a cover. And then these air shafts have a big lid that's held open under pressure for ventilation. And then if there ever was an attack on the base, they released it. And then the big lid would seal these air shafts and any contaminants.
So the idea is that this was supposed to be sealed for any nuclear disaster.
Correct. Now this is considered a semi-hardened silo. It can withstand a 3 megaton blast a mile and a half away. Anything closer, they're going to do some damage.
Okay.
The walls here are 2 feet thick, 20,000 PSI concrete with reinforced rebar, which it's pretty hard. So this is actually the roof of the base down below. These are exhaust stacks from the diesel engines down below. Once the military left, they cut the stacks off and filled it up with concrete. This is one of 2 escape hatches, and this is the only ambient light that goes down below. So this had a hatch on it. He took it off, put a piece of plexiglass, so now he gets some ambient light, which goes into a loft bedroom. These are 2 radio towers that communicated with Fairchild Air Force Base. They have conduits that go through this down below. He was able to bring in one of his power lines, 200 amp. So this is his upper living space before he had air conditioning. During the summer, he would go down to the base where it's cooler. Being a bachelor, his drawers and dressers are tool chests. This is him.
Did he work as an engineer?
He worked for Boeing, and then he started his own business creating dental implants.
I love that he made that into a cutting board.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think tool chests come with cutting boards.
No.
This is his bedroom. The top of this base was not meant to have a bathroom. So he had to figure out how to do drainage off of the concrete. So he raised the toilet to get his wastewater out into a sewage junction just outside this wall here. And then he did the water.
So everything's just functional.
It's just functional. I mean, it's not luxurious by any means, but it's very comfortable. This transition, you could see here, you could hear the sound. It's hollow here, and it's not here. You can see this opening here. It's called the plug. A huge piece of concrete would fit in here and seal the base. The military took the plug out, they would put everything down below, build it out, and then put the plug in and seal the base. My father-in-law got it. He got a big crane, took the plug out, and put it here, and made a patio out of it.
That's the plug.
Underneath those pavers. So the plug is still there. So with the plug being gone, he built stairs to get down below, and then he actually fabricated an elevator. That's not like a Harbor Freight or Amazon. That's like from scratch elevator that he had to build.
And then I'll just get, yeah.
Drive it, or you wanna...
No, you drive it.
So he built this.
Is it existing equipment or?
He just created it in his head.
Okay. Wow.
So he's got one point anchored in. There's a huge big cement monument behind this wall that he has one anchor point.
And this is the plug's right here.
Yeah, the plug fit in here. And you have the other anchor point that goes into the actual foundation or ceiling of the base. So this is the thickness of the walls and the ceiling. The foundation's much thicker because of all the weight that it has to carry. So we're not talking a 2, 3, 4 inch foundation. You're probably talking 5 or 6 feet a foundation for all this weight to sit on. But you know, he put in a little beep beep, put in his little yellow light. Now he lived here by himself. Who he's doing this for, I don't know. But
So it's counterweight.
yeah, I helped him put these in. And he had to calculate the weight ratio. He did all the weld. You can see the weld marks on his welding room.
Yeah.
And I seen the blueprints on this somewhere where he actually designed all this on paper first. You know, to what size chain, what size bolt, how kind of washers, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was just,
To make your own elevator is not an easy task.
and it's much nicer than having to go through, because if you put the plug in, but this way you got groceries, you can just bring it right down here. The kitchen's right there, so
Super nice, yeah.
yeah, really nice. So lack of a better term, I call this the green room, but this was the power room. This is where they had two big diesel electric engines. So there's two cement pedestals, and that's what the diesel engine would sit on to power the whole base. So we decided to build a stage over it to make more usable space.
To use for,
He would have parties down here and actually bring a band. He was a single guy. Those vents you saw outside, those are the openings, one there. One sucks air in, sucks air out.
the other one's there? With
Yes.
that fan on it, so that's sort of,
He put that fan in. When the military decommissioned, they took everything. Every wire, every pipe. The only thing he had left was concrete.
so he even put in a basketball court.
Put in a basketball court. My wife and I were thinking about pickleball. We're thinking about putting a pickleball court. There's a lot of, you'll walk across a lot of this kind of stuff. Underneath this, it's a cement trench, but he put plywood over it because he wanted to make everything flat. So he'll patch. So this was actually under 2 feet of muck when he bought it. So he had to pump it all out, clean it. He painted the floor and he painted this. He put the false ceiling, and he also put in heating. So this was the original wastewater sump tank. So all of his wastewater, he was able to figure out how to get it to flow into here and then pump it out into a huge septic field that's outside. So he even put an alarm on it in case something went wrong, so you know you better go check your septic system.
So very engineer driven.
Yeah. So this is the kind of work that he did. Doesn't this look like torturous? Like some type of torture device? Medieval. So he had to put the water heater in, had to figure out how to get power to it and how to get the plumbing to all the end supply. So this is the actual living quarters. This was empty like that room over there. Nothing here. So anything that doesn't sound like this is everything that he built. So you have a full kitchen, dishwasher, 2 sinks, refrigerator. I've eaten dozens and dozens and dozens of dinners here with Dave and my wife. That clock irritates me. I hate it, that ticking clock.
That's all you hear, it's so quiet down here.
And it freaks me out. I'm telling you. Well, you know, I'll tell you a story when I get to the bedroom. But this is the heating that he put in. So he put up all these walls, and then this is the actual bathroom that the crew, this is their actual footprint of the bathroom. The jacuzzi wasn't here. Had 2 showers here, had 2 sinks, had 2 toilets here. He only put 1 because the other toilet drain he used for the loft bathroom that he built. And you know, for 5 guys, what, you know, how much do you need?
Yeah.
For five guys?
Right.
So this is the master bedroom. Again, tool cabinets for nightstands. That's my side. I don't like staying here by myself. It is pitch black and not a sound. So when I wake up in the middle of the night, it's so pitch black that I'm disoriented. So I really don't know where I'm at. So I said to my wife, I said, can we put like a night light in somewhere so when I wake up in the middle of the night, I can see the light and kind of orient myself where I'm at. And the other thing is it's so quiet that you're not supposed to hear anything. So when you do hear something, it's like, what's that? Because it doesn't creak and groan like a house, like a wooden house or anything else. You don't hear, the only thing that you hear is a refrigerator compressor coming on and off.
Just the clock.
That's right. I just heard the clock. I just heard the clock. I just heard that's, and I hate ticking sounds. It actually is pretty good sleep down here. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of
is.
people.
It really is.
They want it kind of a.
Some people buy things to sort of emulate, like
Deprivation tank kind of thing. You don't hear or see anything. When you wake up here, you have no idea what time it is, or if it's nighttime, if it's morning time. You look at your clock and it's like 9 o'clock in the morning going, it's pitch black. What do you mean it's 9 o'clock in the morning? But so because these ceilings are so tall, and he's able to create a loft. Again, this wasn't here. He built all this. Another full bath. And again, because the ceilings are so high, I think I've had a guy that was 6'5", and he still had plenty of head. And that's the actual ceiling.
The ceilings are so tall because.
I think it's just to handle all of the infrastructure. If you saw a picture of this base when it was active, it's just jammed with all kinds of valves and pipes and motors and hydraulics and engines and pumps and just all kinds of stuff. Okay. So this is a loft bedroom. That escape hatch, this is it here. And this is where the ambient light comes down. So there was a hatch here.
Which would be manually.
Yeah, there's a pull cord.
Okay.
So the space between this hatch and the top, my understanding, it was filled with some type of special sand or something to protect them from radiation or gamma rays to give protection to the base. So this would be filled with something.
So you would never open it unless there was an emergency.
Never open unless emergency. So you pull the whatever you pull, the ripcord, the hatch would swing open, all that material would fall out, and then the crew would scoot out of there. Okay. This is 20,000 PSI concrete, which is extremely, extremely, extremely hard.
Because concrete hardens at different levels.
Yes, your foundations are like 3,000, between 3 and 5,000. This is 20,000, pretty hard.
why would you need to pierce that, to go through that?
Well, you
Diamond cutter?
probably, I mean, you could drill, but you're gonna run into a lot of rebar. So you need a special drill that can also cut through the metal, but you know, what are you gonna drill into? Well, that's an interior wall. You're gonna drill into rock, because on the other side of this is the earth. So this location out here in the middle of nowhere, there's about 5 to 8 feet of rubble, and then below that is solid basalt. It is solid basalt all the way down.
So you could build on top basically one of those fancy skinny skyscrapers and it would just hold it like nothing.
Yep. So it's on a solid. And then this is a vent. My father-in-law put a fan on it. During the winter time, I would block this off so I don't get any cold air coming through here. And you can see that this is the military. So it looks like he was going to put a light there because he got wires, but how he fished the wire to get to that point, I have no idea.
And all those slits you see?
Yeah, those slits, they're hangers. You have this all over the place because they would hang stuff from the ceiling. So you have a rod. So you put the T in and turn it. And so now you have the T caught on this, and then you have that rod, and then they would hang stuff, you know, whether it be something mechanical, some lighting, some gauges, some valves.
You get a little freaked out by yourself here, but your wife likes it.
She loves it. She just doesn't mind solitude and the quiet time. She calls it peace. I said, what about when I'm there? Oh, honey, I find it peaceful when you're here too. You know, don't worry. That's why I sleep upstairs.
We still haven't seen where the missile is. There's more?
Oh, you got a whole nother side of the complex to go. I call this the library, but again, it's just a big space. Remember that cable up top where I showed you the cable going down below?
Yeah.
That's where it's coming out of. It looked like he was planning on putting in more lighting, but he had to fish all that wire. That wire wasn't there.
You know, the interesting thing is that there is telephone connection here.
My wife and I, we put in a cell repeater. We needed some cell connection. So we put a repeater down here, the antenna's on the outside. So because he built this loft, you have this storage space underneath. When he did plumbing, this is how he thinks. He made sure he had access if he needed to clear out any clogs.
What about kitchen? Was there sinks and stuff here before and that's why it was easier? Or did he have to plumb some of this?
The existing kitchenette or kitchen for the crew was here.
It was, okay.
So there is drains on the floor that drain into that septic sump pump that's out on the other side of this wall. I mean, this is where water's coming in, but the actual wastewater actually is in the foundation and goes out to the sump pump.
How about water pressure? Did he manage to have like a conventional water pressure?
Oh yeah, well he put a well pump in, but you know we have plenty of. I mean it's. I mean, showers are powerful. Toilets, you get a good flush on the toilets. I mean, it just works really well. And he put the island in. I'm suspecting that there was a drain here underneath this existing drain from military to drain the dishwasher and that sink out to that sump pump. This is his game room.
Is that an old church pew or something?
Yep,
He was a bit of a scavenger.
huge. A jukebox that works with the 45. But this was the actual space where they would launch the missiles. Yeah, they'd have all their gauges and panels and everything else, and they'd have their buttons to launch the missile. So if you remember that flagpole where I said the power's coming in at, we're right underneath it. So his main 1 of 200 amps, and that's usually what a residential power is a 200 amp box. So this was inspected, but you can see he didn't cheap out anything. He put everything in conduit. So he did all this. And then he put in a furnace, and then these 2 pipes is where his water comes into the base from the wells outside. And then he would distribute the water. He actually put in a pipe that goes to the other side of the base. He found a hole, no idea what those holes are for. So, and then the electric, when you see electric coming out of the ceiling, he actually had to fish the wire through the existing conduits that were in the ceiling itself. Just have it. Yeah, see those lights over here? That's military power source. But he had to fish the wire from the electrical box to the switches to up there. And how he figured that out, I have no idea. I don't know. But now we're going to go up into the other side. I think this is how the crew went to their area. And then there's another doorway here. I believe there was a false floor here, and they had all the electronics underneath the launch control missiles and what have you. But this is his water line. Now we're going to the coolest part of the base that I like, and that's the tunnel. And you're going to feel the temperature changing here. So that is the original Strategic Air Command emblem, Air Force. And when I saw this, and I saw that it got a little degraded here, peeling, and I had a stupid idea of trying to maybe fix that. And I said, if I touch this in any way, I'm going to ruin it. So I just left it, and I think it's a pretty cool memorabilia. This is what the crew came and walked into when they came to work.
Huh, that's cool.
That was a fearful image back in the day with the Russians. So this is the water line that he installed to bring water to the other side of the base. This is his power line that he brought power in to light up the tunnel, because when you see it gets pretty dark down there. Okay, 'cause I can turn both lights off. I can turn both lights off down there. I've had people singing in here to listen to themselves.
Do you know why he wanted to live underground?
My wife asked him that many times, and he just said, if he didn't want to answer, he'll just say, because I want to. He didn't really give a reason. I'm going to go lights out. It wasn't for prepping. It wasn't to escape the world. He just thought it'd be cool, no pun intended, to live underground.
Pitch black. Wow. Wow. So this was constructed so people could get to work, you were saying?
This is where the crew would come into the missile base.
Oh, because there was no access here.
Yeah, because once that plug is in, that's sealed up. You can't get in over there.
Okay.
And this has about 5 feet of concrete on top of this, and then earth on top of that. So this is very well protected in through here. And I think it's the coolest, chilliest place.
Definitely the coolest.
I think 'cause I keep the doors closed, and maybe just the coolness of, just doesn't get any.
It feels almost, it's definitely like a spacewalk or something. When do you have that experience of walking through this tunnel to work? Because when you walked through, you would be walking in for 24 hours or whatever.
Right.
And then would you seal?
Yes, they would seal themselves in over here. Doesn't even creak. So this is where he brought his one water line. So he has a hose out here. I had to learn the hard way, being from Florida. There's something called winterizing, which I didn't know anything about. So the water was on, and I split some outside faucets because I didn't turn off the water that fed the outlet. So now we'll go onto the working side of the base, where the actual missile was. So this does have a double blast door. This side of the silos over there, this side of the base had all of the valves and hydraulics and pumps and gauges and electronics, all of the necessary machinery to babysit the missile. I've seen pictures of this space when it was active, and it was just jam-packed with stuff. And you can see all these anchor points. The military did this. You know, they drilled into their own walls or pre-set anchors to anchor, you know, infrastructure on the walls, because this is concrete. So a little interesting thing here, this little thing here, this is an actual B-52 rear gunner turret simulator. And it actually worked. He was trying to get it to work again, but it's got all the switches and gauges and the joystick and the little monitor screen here. But, you know, I have stuff that you turn, you know, all this just to fire a gun. A rear turret gun.
Yeah.
And then he was trying to get it to work again. You could see he had some new wiring going in here, but I think he was dealing with some vacuum tubes. That's all. You know, so here's the other escape hatch up there. See, I think they didn't do the double hatch like they have on that side because the crew wasn't over here. Because when you fire this thing, you can't have people standing around on this side of the base when they fire that rocket. So you can see these are much beefier than the columns over there. That's because on the other side of this wall is a 400-ton door in one piece, slides open to raise the rocket. So these pillars would support it. That's why these are much thicker. And the foundation is much, I think I looked down one of these and it's about 6 feet down or something like that. These were liquid fueled, kerosene and oxygen, which is a very dangerous combination. So they have the kerosene on this side, and the kerosene tank was in here. And when the military tried to take it out, it wouldn't fit through the door. So they had to chop some of the wall away to get their kerosene tank out. So when you walk across the plates, some of these plates in wood, when I say there's cement trench, that's what it looks like underneath. You can peek in there, that's the flame pit. The rocket was right there, the engines. When they fired these rockets, they would flush the flame pit with water. They had to keep the cement cool because if you put concrete under extreme heat, it crystallizes it and it cracks. So after they fired the first one, they think they could retrofit this base with another missile in about 3 or 4 months. And I'm going, you fire the first missile, there's something going to be around 3 or 4 months later to put another one in there, but that's the military. So I don't get it. So like trenching that you saw here, that's what's under these plates here. You had a huge HVAC system on the ceiling. I'm sure they had to keep all this machinery and hydraulics cool, even though it's cool down here, still had to keep things cool and running because it's just, everything was always under pressure and always running and they had to be ready at a moment's notice. I stuck my head up in here and I think this is where they had the motors and the hydraulics to open that 400-ton door. But I looked up, my wife and I looked up in there and there's nothing. There's just dead end pipes. So this is the actual silo. The engines were there. The warhead's at this end. This he built. This is a 47-ton door that my father-in-law was able to put a motor on and to actually get it to close. But you can see how slow it takes. But you can close it. So someone can actually close this off and nobody's getting in. So this door, it's not solid metal, there's concrete in it, but you got these steel plates on the outside.
How heavy is this door?
47 tons. So this door would close. It would fit into this pocket. And then there's these spikes or stakes that they would pin the door to the ground so nobody could open it. And then you had these pulleys here. Remember I was telling you they can open and close it manually? And I think there's another one over here. There was one up there that they actually manually open and close.
Do you have a 2 feet deep, 47-ton garage door?
Yeah, it's a missile base. You know? So that's 47 tons. This whole ribbed structure here, that's the 400-ton door that slides that way to open up the sky to raise the missile.
How long would that take?
To open the door, raise the missile, and fuel it, and have it ready to fire 12 to 15 minutes.
Still.
I think fueling is what takes most of the time.
Quite impressive still. Given the magnitude of these things, I see it's fast, actually.
Yeah, it is fast. So there's a picture where they have a missile guy. So the missile's in the cradle, and it's above the ground, about this high off the ground. It pretty much fills up the entire silo. And he's kind of like, so he has his hand on the actual missile, and then you have the big yellow 4 megaton warhead at the tip of it.
So it's horizontal, so what would they use to erect it?
It was in a cradle. It would be delivered in a cradle, and then the cradle would be hung. See those two structures at the end of the silo? The cradle would be attached to that to actually raise the missile.
So it took up this whole area. So this would be filled with missile.
This is a big missile in here, yep.
But how often was it raised?
I only know the one time during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And again, he had projects. He bought 2 more metal buildings, carports. What he was going to do with them, I don't know. Got stuff here. This is going to be the flame pit. You can choose to go back there or not, but you got to pay attention where you're stepping. Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So this is the flame pit. So when the missile's raised, when the door's open, the missile's raised, the engines sit in here. That's the flame pit. There's supposed to be water in it, and that's regulated by a sump pump that makes sure it doesn't get any higher. So when they fired the rockets, the flames will be redirected to another concrete ramp that goes about a 45-degree angle out that way. Another blast door opens up to vent out the blast. So I've been down there many times, and you can actually, there's rungs that can actually climb up the flame pit ramp that exhausts. I've seen some creatures down there. I think I saw a couple snakes every now and then, but nothing dangerous.
And there's some water down there.
Yeah, that's normal.
How deep is it?
I don't know, what does that look like to you? Maybe 20 feet, 30 feet maybe? Deep enough where if you fall, you're not gonna live. That's why we don't let people come back here.
Yeah. Because the missile would be, at this point...
Direct, pointed up that way. And the engines would be sitting down there pointing that way.
Okay.
So they would fire the engines and it hit that ramp and be directed out so you don't get any backwash from the flames.
I never thought of flames that way. It
Yep.
doesn't have to go straight down.
Atlas is ready for a preliminary run-up of its engines.
So when my father-in-law first showed me this, I was like you, wow. And he goes, yeah, he goes, someday I'm gonna make a swimming pool out of this. And I'm going, okay. I said, go right ahead, Daddy-o. I'm not diving in that if you want to make it a pool, because it's, it's scary enough just to look at it, never mind swim around in it. The actual cradle that held the rocket, that's what these platforms were. The cradle would sit on that to support the rocket. Because remember, the rocket is raised empty. It's not, actually, it's under pressure, because the skin's so thin that if you touch it, it'll crinkle. So they had to keep it under, I think they used nitrogen. So when they fueled it, they had to exhaust the nitrogen and put in the liquid. So they had to do that while the missile was standing up. Okay. So you had to have that cradle that was able to, support these platforms to support that weight.
And that would be all opened up?
That would be all opened up.
And that just slides this way into this room?
Slides that way.
Okay. That was part of that 12-minute.
Yeah, I think probably the fueling was probably the longest part of it. You gotta be real careful. Liquid oxygen and kerosene is, these things have had a history of blowing up in the silos. Yeah.
In the silos. So
yeah. When they're fueled or getting ready to fire or do something, they would blow up.
at that moment during the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was probably people here.
Well, they'd probably be back in the control room because they got that double blast door and they got all that. So if this blew up and they were over there, they're good.
So there are about 27, you said there's 27
of these, yep.
existing still. All of them still exist, because how do you take something like this apart? I mean,
You don't.
You don't. They'll be there for millennium.
And a lot of them are decaying. I don't know if the government still owns some of them, but a lot of them are privately owned. And unless you're living in it or doing something with it, it's just going to decay and just fall apart. But the main structures, what will last. Walls like this, they're going to be around for a long time. He did have a ladder that went down there, but he took it up for some reason.
Swimming pool.
Yeah.
This would be an insane type of swimming pool. I mean,
You think? You think?
that guy had a lot of ideas.
He certainly did. Got it?
You got it, yeah.
So my father-in-law, being my father-in-law, because he thought in his mind, only in his mind, that he can get this door to open. He actually had me up there. So we're looking at these clamps. He was looking at the whole hydraulic lines and the pipes and And I said, Dave, there's no way. And I kept saying, oh, there's a way. If they did it, the military did it, I can do it too. I just got to figure it out. And the last room, this is where his machine shop is, where he did all of his metal work. This is where they store the liquid oxygen fuel. You can see here, see this concrete block? This is where the oxygen tank was. So when they took the oxygen tank out, it's a big, huge tank, it left a big hole, so my father-in-law blocked it up to seal it off. So on the other side of this wall is an actual room that housed the tank. So this is the liquid oxygen room. He put in ventilation because he did a lot of welding. I guess he just picked one of these shafts thinking he could ventilate out one of these shafts. He put a heater in. So one of the projects he had me do is, see these two black objects on the ceiling? Those are actually hot water drip pans. So those are air shafts that were leaking. So one time I came here, he said, Tom, I need your help on a project. I said, sure. He thought of getting these hot water drip pans, and they fit perfectly over the opening. And then we attached PVC pipe to each pan, and it's water that it collects. It gravity feeds into the flame pit where there's already water. And it's been dry ever since. So there's a cable outside that's a lead cable. There's this wire that's in the lead cable, and it's physically connected the base to Fairchild Air Force Base. So these missiles, they required some manual directional navigation to fly these things. So they had to connect to Fairchild Air Force Base to know where the heck they were going. So my father-in-law started digging up, and he was stripping it off to get the copper. So someone asked me, well, how is your father-in-law doing that? Because it looks like he was just trying to strip the coating off of it. And I said, it looks like it. And he said, well, it's paper. Why don't you just burn it off? Instead of trying to peel, this paper off the copper. You could see here, he was still, to the day he passed, he was cutting something. I think this is part of a hatch. But this is definitely part of a hatch. So that's the inside. That's the subterranean.
So have you calculated the square feet of the whole place underground, the square feet?
16,000 plus, between 16 and 20,000. And that's just floor. If you start lofting it, you can double that. It takes some understanding of how to do stuff to get this place working.
Those aspen trees?
Yeah, he put those in.
They are beautiful.
Other than, I've been busy cutting fields.
For fire?
Yes.
So you
But we're not that concerned with fire because it's metal.
Well, there was a fire was that it
Yeah,
right there?
that's it. This burnt a lot. But it didn't jump the road. Fortunately, it didn't jump the road.
But if a fire came across here,
It won't do anything.
I mean, nothing, right? Yeah.
So this structure, which would make a great helipad, is actually, for lack of a better, it's a radiator. We call it the cooling pond. So the diesel engines were water cooled. They would cycle water through the diesel engines out to here. There's these nozzles that spray the water up in the air to cool the water off. And then that surface pond will collect the water, and there's a drain in this corner, and then recycle it back through the engines. So that's the cooling pond. My wife said, cut off those cement, the nozzles and those cement blocks, put an H on there, it's a perfect helipad. This side here is the actual septic field.
So it flows from...
From this sewage juncture right here, which is where he has the upstairs bathroom flowing into. So it flows into there, and then it's just gravity flows out into the septic field. Never had a problem with it.
Did he plant the apple trees?
Yes, 2 apple, 1 cherry, and 1 peach.
So what about the building codes?
Building codes. You know, if you were to look for permitting, the only permits you'll probably find on this place is when he had his 2 electrical boxes inspected way back when. But as far as building permitting and all this, I mean, you know, you're in cattle country. He's been here 30 years and no one came and said, I need to inspect your missile base. I mean, it's a missile base. What code, but what are you going to inspect? What are you going to inspect it against? It's a missile base. Does the inspector even know what the codes are for an Atlas C missile base? These are ventilation shafts.
Okay.
So this whole disc lifts up.
So it lifts up how?
Hydraulics.
It would be if there was an emergency, something leaked and you needed to ventilate.
Correct. Or if there's an attack base, they'd seal it because this is very heavy.
Yes.
So this was paved, but it, you know, 60 years and you know, you're starting to lose some of the pavement. But this is where all the fuel trucks would come, whether it be kerosene or liquid oxygen. This is the actual door.
Oh, you can see how big it is.
Yeah. This is the engine side of the door.
Okay.
And that's the warhead side of the door.
Okay.
And the whole door slides toward us. And then it would raise the rocket and fire it. Being my father-in-law, he got all this rubber lining and covered it to prevent water intrusion. And then he put the bracing around it to hold the rubber down. And then put all this aggregate on top to preserve it as best he could. But you're actually standing on top of the 400-ton door.
Wow. So this would be completely open when it's opened.
This way.
This way. But the whole thing, I mean, this entire
This whole thing,
opens up.
from that edge to this edge.
And then the rocket, like this, right?
Yep.
This way.
Yep.
Because this is where the rocket would be, right here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and then flame pit's right back in here. Here's that flame pit door. So you can see it's on railroad tracks. This would slide open.
Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah, when you stand on it, you could tell that it's...
So that's the flame.
That's a flame pit door. This is one of the few bases that actually has an airstrip designed into it.
Oh, where?
On paper. It's not out here
right.
now.
Okay, okay.
See those 4 posts there?
Yep.
So the airstrip goes from there out this way. See those 2 posts out there? It goes another 800 feet beyond that.
Okay.
A 1,600-foot runway, 200 feet wide. I walked out there, but it looks like the military probably put some dirt on it to make it look more mogul-ish. Here's one other place I will not go down. It's a little too spooky for me, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to one of these days. So the flame pit, I told you there's a sump pump in the flame pit. Well, this is the actual flame pit sump pump pit. You can see how far down it goes. So there's an actual sump pump down there. This would fill up with water and it would be pumped out. Not looking forward to the day I have to go down there. So if there's too much water that accumulates down there, it pumps it out here.
Okay. So how far underground is this going? Do you know how much the drop is? I mean, you can kind of eyeball it, I guess.
This was poured in squares, and I think those are 3 foot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, 20, probably about 25 feet.
Once you get underground, 25 feet, I mean, you also have really great sort of the geothermal, right? It never gets too cold, never gets too hot.
Never gets too, it gets chilly,
Okay.
but it never freezes. It never freezes.
We'll never worry about frozen pipes or frozen.
Don't have to worry about frozen pipes. And then this pile of rubble is where the oxygen tank was, underneath here. So when they took the tank out, it left a big hole underneath. He blocked it up and then backfilled it with all this rubble.
Do you know why they picked the spot?
I asked the same question of myself over and over and over again. I have no idea why they picked this spot. There's 2 wells. One well, the military plugged. I didn't know what they meant by plugging it. I thought they just filled it up with concrete. I'm saying
Yeah.
you can't fill 400 feet of pipe with concrete. So plugging, my understanding is that they actually put an object
Oh.
down, whether it's 5 feet down or 10 feet down. That's a plug, and then they fill it up with concrete. Yeah. But this is the active well, and he had to figure out how to get the water. He figured out how to put new pipe down there, a well pump, a pressure tank, his power, and then feed it into the base. So here's that cable I was telling you about.
Okay.
He was getting ticked off because he was hitting it with his mower. So he started pulling it up and cutting it into sections, and he had a big pallet of it stored in the base. I mean, in his head, he could. This is lead, all the wires in there. This is some type of tin or steel that's wrapped around the lead to prevent the EMP effects of a nuclear blast. So there's still a lot of this on the property that goes that way. Where, I don't know, it just goes that way.
Wow. How far is the Air Force Base from here?
Probably about 30 miles.
That's a lot of.
Yeah. It's the military. You know, they can do anything.